Laura Bennett had always believed that the soul of a family lived in its food. Growing up in Missouri, she had learned every important lesson in the kitchen: how to stay calm when the pie crust cracked, how to try again when the biscuits burned, how to love people by feeding them. Her grandmother, a spirited woman named Helen with silver curls and a laugh that could warm a whole room, had taught her one lesson that stuck with her more than any recipe. Food is never just food. It's a message, Laura. It says, you matter enough for me to try. Now, years later, as Laura stood in her bright Oklahoma kitchen stirring a simmering pot of homemade tomato sauce, she felt a nudge inside her chest, a quiet reminder of Grandma Helen's wisdom. She glanced toward the hallway where she heard faint footsteps, each one hesitant, almost unsure. That would be Ethan. Ethan wasn't her biological son. He was her husband Michael's boy from his previous marriage. 14 years old, tall for his age, messy dark hair, quiet as a snowfall. He had moved in with them 6 months ago after his mother accepted a demanding new job in another state. The transition hadn't been easy, not for him, not for Laura, and honestly not even for Michael, who seemed constantly caught between trying to respect Ethan's boundaries and wanting to help him feel at home. Ethan rarely spoke more than a few words at a time. He kept to himself, spending hours in his room or sketching in the backyard. He wasn't rude, just distant. Laura didn't blame him. She knew she represented change, and change can feel like an unwelcome intruder. But she wanted to try, because she cared. She truly did, and today, she was determined to take one small step. Hey, Ethan, Laura called softly as he lingered by the doorway, pretending to be absorbed by a smudge on the wall. He looked up, startled, as if he hadn't expected to be noticed. Yeah, I'm making my grandmother's famous spaghetti sauce. It's kind of a family tradition. Would you, maybe want to help? Ethan blinked. She could almost see the internal debate flickering behind his eyes. She waited, giving him space. I guess, he said finally, shoulders lifting in a small shrug. Laura smiled warmly, trying not to make the moment feel bigger than it was, even though to her, it absolutely was. He walked over to the counter, hands tucked into the sleeves of his hoodie, a nervous habit she'd quietly observed since the day he moved in. You ever chopped garlic before? She asked. He shook his head. Not really. That's okay. I'll show you. If you want, you can take over. He studied her carefully, as if waiting to see whether this was a test or a trap. When he realized she meant it, he nodded. She handed him the cutting board, the knife, and a small bowl of peeled cloves. His first slice was clumsy, uneven, but careful. The second was a little better. By the fifth, his shoulders started to relax. You're good at this, she said. He flushed slightly, though she wasn't sure if it was embarrassment or pride. It's just garlic. Exactly. And you're doing it well. For the first time since he'd moved in, she saw the faintest curl of a smile at the corner of his mouth. They worked together in quiet harmony, him slicing garlic, her adding basil, oregano, and crushed tomatoes to the pot. The kitchen filled with the aroma of simmering herbs and warmth that felt like both scent and emotion. After a while, Ethan spoke. My mom doesn't really cook. She said she never had time. Laura nodded. Everyone has different lives and routines. She said cooking is old-fashioned. Some people feel that way. Laura smiled gently. But to me, it's comforting. It makes me feel connected to the people I care about. Ethan didn't respond right away, but his knife paused mid-slice. So you're trying to teach me because you care? His voice was quiet, fragile. A question wrapped inside another question. Laura's heart softened. She set down her spoon. Yes, Ethan, you matter. And sharing something with you, something special from my family, means a lot to me. He swallowed, eyes dropping back to the cutting board. No one's ever taught me a recipe before. Well, she said, her voice warm, I'd like to be the first of many. If you'll let me. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he nodded, not dramatically, not with a grin, just a simple, honest nod. And that was enough. Over the next weeks, something unexpected began to bloom in their home, an ease, a familiarity, a quiet comfort that hadn't been there before. Almost every evening, Ethan joined Laura in the kitchen. Sometimes they cooked complicated dishes with names neither of them could pronounce. Sometimes they burned things. Sometimes they laughed about burnt things. Ethan talked more, too. Not always about big things. But about school, art, favorite shows, and which music artists he thought were actually decent and not fake. Laura listened. She learned. She cherished. One Saturday afternoon, when Michael was out running errands, Ethan walked into the kitchen with a sketchbook tucked under his arm. "Can I show you something?" he asked. Laura wiped her hands on a towel and nodded. He flipped open the book to a page filled with pencil drawings, detailed, thoughtful, full of emotion he rarely expressed out loud. One drawing caught her attention: a pot of spaghetti sauce simmering on a stove, steam swirling upward in soft lines. Behind the pot, two figures, one tall and lanky, one shorter, standing side by side. "I made this," he said quietly. "It's beautiful," Laura whispered. He hesitated. "It's us." Her chest tightened, but in the best way possible. "I love it, Ethan. Thank you for showing me." For the first time, he gave her a real smile. Not a half smile or a timid smirk. A genuine, unguarded smile. That evening, Michael noticed the shift immediately. "You two seem closer," he said. Laura shrugged lightly, though inside she was glowing. "We're learning each other." "Well," Michael said, pressing a gentle kiss to her forehead, "I'm proud of both of you." But the moment that truly shocked Laura, the moment she never expected, came on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. Ethan walked into the kitchen holding a piece of paper. His hair was damp from the walk home, his backpack slung carelessly over one shoulder. "Laura," he said, sounding nervous. "Yes." He handed her the paper. I need to bring something homemade for a school event on Friday. They said it has to be something meaningful to you. And I was thinking," he paused, took a breath. "Could we make your grandmother's recipe together? And maybe I could tell people why it matters." For a second, Laura couldn't speak. Tears stung her eyes, but she blinked them away, not wanting to overwhelm him. "You want to share our recipe?" she asked softly. "Yeah, I mean, it's important to you. And I guess, it's important to me now, too." Her heart swelled. "I would love that, Ethan." What she didn't expect was what he said next. "And, could you maybe come to the event? You don't have to talk or anything. Just be there." "Of course," she said, touched beyond words. "I'd be honored." He exhaled, relieved. "Cool, thanks." In that moment, Laura realized something profound. Food hadn't just bridged a gap. It had built a connection. A real one. And that connection wasn't fragile anymore. It was growing. On Friday evening, they set up their table at the school event. The crockpot simmered with their family recipe. People stopped by, impressed by the aroma and the story Ethan told, about traditions, about learning, about finding connection in unexpected places. Laura stood nearby, watching him speak with quiet pride. When the event ended, Ethan walked over and nudged her sleeve. "You know," he said, "I'm glad you asked me to cook that day." "Me too," she said. He looked down, then back up. "I'm really happy to be part of this family." And that, more than any recipe, more than any dish, was the moment that changed everything. A recipe had brought them to the same kitchen. Trust had kept them there. And love, quiet, steady, honest, had made them a family.